To worry or question why, surrender, let go, release,
Thousands of years ago, the Buddha taught you are what you think.
So a modern philosopher coined the phrase that you are what you eat.
Today, like millions of my human sisters and brothers on planet Earth,
I'm becoming mindful about what I eat, what I think.
But lately, I've been thinking about this.
I watch what I eat, but do I watch what I watch?
Welcome to the Brahma Kumaris, where a new world is opened up for you. From humble beginnings in India in 1936 to a global organization with over 8,000 centers in 110 countries and 1 million students worldwide, through their tireless commitment, passionate heart, and determined spirit, the Brahma Kumaris arrived in America in 1974 and have since grown to 35 main centers throughout America. There are also 2 residential retreat centers, Peace Village, located in upstate New York, and Anubhuti, located in Novato, California.
I want to just share a little bit about how the centers of Raj Yoga meditation began in United States. Actually, I was in Caribbean islands and I got invitation from New York that we want to start something about meditation. And it was in 1978 I came here and we rented a very small apartment in Astoria. And from there I found that a lot of people have interest. I realized that there is so much need, and from there onwards, then centers started in many other states.
Our centers are safe spaces where you can explore the power of your inner world.
The classes are conducted in many homes, many cities, all over across the United States. A lot of people, they learn meditation, they use it, that meditation, at their workplace, in their family. And also I find that children, young adults, because they are so much into like what really is the life about.
The Brahma Kumaris are dedicated to personal and global transformation through the study and spiritual practice of Raj Yoga meditation. And at the heart of our teaching is the belief that the pathway to peace and happiness is to remember our original nature as spiritual beings, connected to the one source. In 1981, the organization received recognition as an international non-governmental organization affiliated with the United Nations and accredited with general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. From organizing large-scale global initiatives to local community programs, the Brahma Kumaris has a tradition of service in every field that fosters spiritual growth among individuals from all backgrounds, cultures, and walks of life.
I hold on to this vision, the world of love, world of peace and harmony, world which is free from conflict and sorrow, where we can live as brothers, one family, children of common parents, one supreme divine power.
This is your invitation to awaken and join us in creating a world of love, peace, and kindness. Om Shanti.
Sister Jenna is one of the purest, most sublime spirits I've encountered. Gentle voice, gentle sound, but booming spirit. She makes life more graspable. I listen to her, I see and sense and say to her and about her. She's a woman of good, a woman of God, a woman of elevated consciousness. I'm so glad to be a part of your life and that you are a part of mine and that we are all together a part of each other's. Peace and blessing.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Brahma Kumari's Meditation Museum's Next Normal, in collaboration with America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna, and every night, Monday through Friday, we get together and have some deep conversations about life. During the pandemic, I've hosted and interviewed a tremendous amount of individuals who have really left us with some deep thoughts to contemplate on. If it wasn't a presidential candidate, it was a New York Times best-selling author. Today we have an icon, an individual who actually walked in the footsteps with Martin Luther King. The great Dr. Clarence B. Jones will be joining us. And I'd like to invite you now to really take some time, gather the family. This will be historical. This will be like a history class, but you'll be getting the internal, the inside look at what happened behind the scenes before pen was put in paper in our history books. That's what tonight's conversation is all about on The Next Normal. So before I bring Dr. Jones on, let me give you just a little idea for those of you who might not know who he is. Dr. Clarence B. Jones is a director of the University of San Francisco's Institute for Nonviolence and Social Justice and scholar writer in residence for the Martin Luther King Jr. Research and Education Institute at Stanford University. Dr. Jones is a director of the University of San Francisco's Institute for Nonviolence and Social Justice and a scholar writer in residence for the Martin Luther King Jr. Research and Education Institute, Stanford University. In a distinguished career, Dr. Jones served as a political advisor, counsel, and draft speechwriter for the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he became actually the first African-American partner in a Wall Street investment banking firm. He has been twice recognized as Fortune magazine's Businessman of the Month and founded successful financial, corporate, and media-related ventures. He has also provided strategic, legal, and financial consulting services to several governments around the world and received numerous state and national awards recognizing his significant contribution to the American society. He's highly sought after as a speaker and has been the subject of numerous television and radio interview programs. He's the co-author of Behind the Dream, Uprising, Understanding Attica Revolution and the Incarceration State, and What Would Martin Say? He is also the founder of the Clarence B. Jones Institute for Social Advocacy. Through his work in the Civil Rights Movement, he has dramatically impacted the course of American history. Today, as we honor and observe Martin Luther King Day, it gives me great privilege to welcome the wonderful Dr. Clarence B. Jones to The Next Normal. Tonight our conversation will be a heart-to-heart one, because this is someone I want to learn from and grow with. I'm also so curious to find out his perspective in what's happening in the United States of America right now. So my advice to you, tell your friends, share it right now, bring out your pen and paper and take notes. This is going to be really important. Dr. Jones, thank you so much for joining us on The Next Normal, as well as in collaboration with America Meditating Radio. I cannot be more pleased to have you with us today.
I am pleased and honored to be here.
So this is a day that does what to you? Every time in the United States, MLK Day is observed, Is there anything that usually happens to you specifically on this particular day?
Yes, it's a day of both, there's a dialectic to it. It's a day of great pain, and it's a day of great joy and remembrance. It's a day of great pain because I know that we're celebrating his birthday is 92 years old this week. And, but he was violently taken from us, assassinated when he was 39 years old. And I think of what a profound loss to the nation and the world of what he could have continued to provide to us and contribute to us had he had the opportunity to live much longer, whether or not he had reached 92 or whatever age, but a much older age than 39. So that, yes, it's a day of joy because I'm pleased that the nation commemorates this extraordinary person. But
they needed to do that.
But as I said, the dialectic is of joy and pain.
Where were you on that day when the soul of Martin left his body so violently? Where were you and what did you feel? What do you remember?
Oh, I remember distinctly, yes. I was on my way actually down to Memphis, Tennessee, on my way to the airport, and I was rushing out the door. And the phone rang. It was Harry Belafonte on the phone. And I didn't want to take the phone because I said, I have a car waiting outside to take me to the airport. But something instinctively said, well, I'll answer the phone anyway. So I answered the phone. It was Harry Belafonte. I said, Harry, I can't talk to you now. I'm rushing down to Memphis. He says, well, you better hold on. Martin's been shot. I said, what? He said, turn on your television. So I turned on the television, and there it was all over the TV. Martin Luther King Jr. had been shot. And so I immediately got on the phone and called Memphis, Tennessee, the various numbers I had, because it had been arranged that people were going to meet me at the airport and take me to the Masonic Temple where he was going to speak. Couldn't get through, and then I finally got through, and there was mayhem, and then the phone rings again. And I said, Harry, I'm uncertain what I should do. And he said, well, Martin's dead. Just like that. And so we better hold on and think about what we should do. And at that time, the first immediate thought that came into my mind was, they finally got him. They finally got him.
Hmm.
There'd been no question in my mind, and little question in his mind, and those who were close around him. It was not a question of whether Martin Luther King Jr. would be killed. It's just a question of when it would occur.
It was a matter of when, right?
Right, only when.
When I look at the images, Dr. Jones, at the enormous amount of courage you all had in those days to go against the kind of a level of hatred that we witnessed, it took a lot of anointing from God to keep moving forward like that. How did you meet Martin? Like, what was it that was in the cards that got you in connection with him, and how did you start to become a part of his messaging?
First of all, in response to what you first said, yes, it did take a lot of anointing from God. I met Dr. King when I was 29 years old, and he was 31. the second week in February in California. He had been indicted by the state of Alabama for tax evasion and perjury. And he was represented by 4 very able lawyers. But his chief defense counsel, a judge in New York, Hubert Delaney, knew me and had an exaggerated opinion of my abilities. And he called me and he said, you know, Dr. King has been indicted for tax evasion and perjury. And I'm leading his defense team, and I would like for you to coordinate and take responsibility of coordinating the defense, the preparation of the research, preparing the defense. And I said, Judge, you got 3 able lawyers. He said, yes, I know, but you know, we're all busy and we need somebody to do the research and prepare the cases in support of our arguments. And at first I thought he was just talking about that I'm in California going to the library and preparing some stuff and then sending it to him. He said, no. You need to go to Montgomery, Alabama. And I said, Judge, I can't go to Montgomery, Alabama. And he was, you have to understand, it was difficult for me to say no to him because he had been an influential factor in my life. He had made a recommendation to me, recommending me to go to law school, recommendation to the law school. I attended with Boston University Law School. And I had great profound respect for him. So it was hard for me to say no to him aside from his own individual stature as a lawyer. And that was on a Thursday evening, and Friday morning, early the next morning, I get another call very early in the morning. And Judge Delaney says, you know, Clarence, I didn't know at the time of our conversation last night that Dr. King is in the air right now. He's on his way to Los Angeles. And I told him that the very first thing he should do when he arrived was to rent a car and come out and visit you. And I thought to myself, oh no, that's the last thing I need. You know, I'm starting my day Friday morning in LA. So Friday evening is at my door at 2751 Highview Avenue in Altadena, California. There stands Martin Luther King Jr. and Reverend Bernard Lee, a trusted aide of his. I had seen pictures of Dr. King, but I'd never seen Dr. King before. He comes into my home, sits down. My wife, then, who's now deceased, the mother of my adult children, you know, she treated him like a rock star.
I'm sure she would.
He had been on the front pages of Time looking like
Right. What was your first feeling when your eyes met Martin's eyes, and it was a soul-to-soul link? Do you remember what that feeling was?
My first feeling was, this is going to be a problem. My first reaction was, he's going to be asking me putting pressure on me to do something that Judge Delaney tried to persuade me to do. And Judge Delaney, being a very smart dude, I think he thought that, well, if Dr. King comes to visit me in person, I won't say no to Dr. King. So that's my first reaction. Was admiration, but I knew it was going to be a problem.
But you were right.
That's right.
You were absolutely right. So then after that meeting, and your wife treated him like he was the king,
right?
Life continued to unfold. You helped him with his case, but you also became good friends. Right. What was that link? What happened when you really started to feel the kindredness?
Well, you know, Dr. King, first of all, let me just say that, first of all, I first started out as a political advisor, and then lawyer, and then draft speechwriter for Dr. King. And what happened is that we developed a bond of trust. And I like to set the record straight. Dr. King was fully able and capable of drafting his own speeches, except that the 2 principal sources of income to the organization that he led, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, were speaking fees in response to a monthly newsletter that they would send out. I'm sorry, donations in response to the monthly newsletter, and speaking fees. The speaking fees would arise from his going and speaking, and he'd be requested to speak four times a week. And doing that, it just became impossible for him to literally prepare to do that. So he asked my assistance, as the number of speaking requests began to accumulate, of helping him initially do research about the group or the subject. And as I began to do research around the subject, I began to further suggest how he might consider speaking about it. Now here, little known about me, but I had gone to the Juilliard School of Music before I'd gone to Columbia University. And because at Juilliard, I learned developed the skill set of ear training. You train your ear. You learn to be able to identify, principally on a piano, without looking at the piano, what note is played, and being able to say, well, if the note A is played, that's 440 vibrations. If the note C is played, that's 426 vibrations. Anyway, you learn to immediately hear and authentically recognize a sound. So this helped me, because when I would listen to Dr. King speak, I could internalize not only the substance, but I could internalize the tonality. And so the ear training would help me replicate in words and in phrases what he would most likely say. So that's how it started.
That's powerful. Now, I think there was somewhere that I had found that he used to need like a jump start with his speeches. So you would usually come in with the first few paragraphs of the idea so that he would just get going. Is that true?
Oh, yes, that is true. In addition, there was another one with the record to reflect. There was another gentleman older than me and older than Martin who knew Dr. King before I did. His name was Stanley Levison. And he had played that role earlier than I played the role. But when I came on the scene, I began to share some of that. And then for a combination of reasons, Stanley Levison was deemed persona non grata by the Kennedy administration and the FBI, and so they wanted to smear Dr. King with his relationship with Stanley Levison, who had been at an earlier part in his life a communist, but it was no longer member of the Communist Party when he met Dr. King. In any event, I got in that position. So
tell me something. Is there a particular speech that's your favorite?
Yes.
Which one? And do you remember it? Could you do it for us?
Yeah, the speech on April 4th, 1967.
When he was in Norway?
Time to break the silence. The speech opposing the war in Vietnam. That was a powerful speech. And ironically, the first draft of the speech that I prepared, he didn't like. It was too equivocal for him. But that was not a speech, but a document that I think is the most seminal document of the 20th century. Is a letter from the Birmingham jail. I had nothing whatsoever to do with that, except to bring him the paper to write. But it was the most extraordinary. If I had to book
a little bit of that for me.
I'm sorry?
Could you share a little bit of that speech for us?
The first speech?
The one that's your favorite and from April 4th.
Oh, yes, in time to break the silence, he recites about how he had, as a minister, had wrestled with his conscience when he saw the United States through its military dropping tons and tons of bombs on Vietnam. And he also, he said he could count. He talked about Johnson having the Great Society, but the Great Society required money. And he could see that a large percentage, a substantial amount of the money that would otherwise have been available for domestic use was being used to fund military operations in Vietnam. So he knew that the continuation of the war in Vietnam was simply going to drain, aside from the moral question of the continuation of the war, was simply going to leave virtually no resources to address the domestic issues. So that, among other things, prompted him to oppose the war.
Beautiful. Dr. Jones, we've been going through quite a lot in the United States of America. I usually calculate the strain of the American fiber post 9/11. I know a lot of people might not recognize it, but for me, in my generation, I tend to go back there. So many things changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a time that I used to be able to have my own little parking space that I could go and park because I got permission from the Sergeant of Arms, and I used to be able to walk into the Capitol, which I used to feel was like my home.
Mm-hmm.
Post 9/11, I couldn't even get past the barricade. And those things are painful. There's been a lot of changes, and the last few years, there's been great changes. How are you feeling as we approach inauguration for President-elect Biden and the first African-American Black woman who will be the Vice President of the United States? How are you feeling when you're witnessing all the things that's been going on in America, especially in the last, since the election on November 3rd? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling joy, celebration, and profound apprehension, and some degree of sadness, but great apprehension and fear, because first of all, I'm overjoyed that our country has elected President Biden as president, and Kamala Harris, first Jamaican and Indian woman as vice president. But
Dr. Jones, you know I'm half Jamaican.
Well, you should be celebrating.
Let me tell you, when I knew she was going to be vice president, I was like, bring out some Bob Marley.
Oh yeah, I spent a lot of time. That's a separate subject. I spent a lot of time in Jamaica, because when I was in the investment banking business, the Wall Street firm I was in, we used to represent the government of Jamaica. So I spent a lot of time in Jamaica. Anyway, the direct answer to your question, I feel joy, but I feel a great deal of apprehension, because while President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris won the election the old-fashioned way, by the greatest number of popular votes and the electoral votes, nevertheless, there were 74 million people who did not vote for them. And those 74 million people, in spite of the fact that Vice President Biden and Harris, I think, almost got 80 million votes, there was 74 million people who strongly opposed their election. And as we can see from these recent events in the Capitol, in the past week or more, they are prepared to take their opposition to ways beyond nonviolence, to violently oppose. And so, like the rest of the country, I'm on tenterhooks, notwithstanding the military measures taken. I'm on tenterhooks that there may not be such a peaceful transition to power.
Say that. I'm so hoping there will be. You know, I'm in Washington,
Telling you
D.C.
That's my observation.
Yeah. I'm in Washington, D.C., and a few days ago, I went to Martin Luther King's memorial to do a message for today, which you'll see as well tonight. And I have never seen such military presence anywhere, much less in the nation's capital, all because of what was incited by a particular voice of leadership and a community of individuals who believe in the rhetoric. And we have a peace tree. It's an official government peace tree. It's called the Om Shanti Peace Tree. And it's planted on Capitol Hill, right next to the Krista McCullough's tree. Mm-hmm. And there's a monument that's next to it called the Navy Monument with two women at the top. And one has got her head on her shoulder crying. Mm-hmm. And when I was looking at a video of where our peace tree was and the monument, and then looking at what happened on January 6th, I said to myself, I wonder if there's one person who found that tree and sat under it like the Buddha and found their peace. Mm. And I had that question, you know, in my heart that there's got to be a few that we can save. This really isn't the way. It felt like a culmination of the low vibration in which the country was going through. And so what I witnessed on the 6th was just really the sum total of just how uncomfortable a lot of souls are inside of themselves. If Martin was around, or not even if he was around as Martin Luther King, but speaking from a soul level, a spirit level, what do you think Martin would say or do as he witnesses these times in the United States of America? I mean, from the time with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on, till January 6th, to what's going on with the fact that we have the first African, Jamaican, Indian woman to be the Vice President of the United States. What do you think he would think or say to you?
Well, he would say that nonviolence and loving your neighbor still remains the only viable option. Because paraphrasing him, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. So it's either nonviolence or non-existence. And we don't have a choice. And he would still, I know my friends who know me, they say, you know, Dr. Jones, Clarence is going out on the deep end. He would be the first to extend the hand of love and outreach to those people who are marching in the Capitol. He would not look at them as our enemy. He would look on them as our brothers and sisters who are acting in what they perceive to be their self-interest, but who are still human beings and whom we have the capacity to love. We have to reach out to them and show them that it is in our mutual self-interest to try to address the concerns that they have non-violently and peacefully. As I said, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind, and he would not abandon us. He would, if he was the last person standing, he would sometimes say, I would still reach out to those most vicious mobs, because I know that in their heart, it's our challenge is to reach them. Our challenge is to, he believed that there was something so deep and so inviolate and so immutable, that notwithstanding the voice would be saying all these racist words and not be saying something, would be carrying all these racist signs, that there was something deep inside that person that had more in common with him than they did in opposition to him. And that is because, following in the philosophy of Gandhi, which you are very familiar with, okay, he believed in the power of love, not romantic love. He believed in the durable capacity of loving one another, because if loving yourself is really a reflection of your capacity to love someone else.
That is so powerful.
You
And
understand?
that's where so many of us have issues. We don't know how to love ourselves. I mean,
No,
I don't think.
if you love yourself, then then you're competent enough to reach out to somebody that can call on you names, and even reaching out to violence, but you can get beyond that. Okay? And this is not some kind of quackery. Okay? This is deeply related, deeply embedded in not only the religious experience, the philosophical experience. I mean, Dr. King went to India, and, he had a PhD in theology. And that experience of going to India, that experience of just being there, of seeing there, of walking in the footsteps of Mahatma Gandhi, of talking with some of Gandhi's grandchildren,
Arun is wonderful, isn't he?
Yeah, and he was, and to see, and he never forgot. He never forgot, and too many of us in America forget that this frail brown man led 1 million people to the sea and brought the English military to its knees. Brought the English military to its knees. He never fired a shot. Okay? He paralyzed India, so it had no choice but to permit India to be free. Okay? They didn't do that by a organized band of rifles and guerrillas and no, it did it surely by the massive power of 1 million people bringing the country to its knees. And I believe there may come a time if we are not able to peacefully reconcile these differences between the so-called Republican and Democratic Party and people who invaded the Capitol. There may come a time where we may have to have millions of people marching into the state capitol and saying enough is enough. Enough is enough, America. We are all one. We have got to stop killing one another. We've got to learn to live with one another. We had one civil war, killed 620,000 men, equivalent to 15 million of a population on today's population stats in the United States. We did that. We don't need to do that again. Again, to be repetitive, it's either coming together cooperatively in nonviolence or non-existence. So I hear some of my people say, oh, these people who voted for Trump with this, and I said, hold on now. I said, I know several of people whom I know and respect who voted for Donald Trump. They are suddenly no longer people. They are so longer not capable of my friendship, capable of my love and respect. No. Okay? We have to find a way. We have to find, I refuse to concede that one person, charlatan, one person by the name of Trump can override the power of the capacity of the American people to love one another. I will not concede that.
And amen to that. I won't either. I'm with you on that one. I think that if we focus our attention on the lower energy, there's an acronym that I use a lot, Dr. Jones. It's called ALGE. A for anger, L for lust, G for greed, A for attachment, and E for ego. And I feel what's happened is that there's this virus of algae that has entered everyone's consciousness. And maybe this pandemic, and maybe us being on lockdown, and maybe all of these events that are taking place globally is actually forcing us to turn our attention inwards and find the love that we are, find that energy of love that God put in us from the beginning.
Yes.
As you continue to, grow and aspire and be more of who you are, and I loved being a part of your big birthday bash the other day. What do you still want to get done? What are you still fired up to get done?
I want there to be a kind of mass reality check and honesty within the nation of the United States. I want them to come out of a conditioned state of denial and to recognize it's nothing bad to recognize a simple fact that this great United States we have, in spite of the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution, crafted, ratified in 1789, that this nation was born and conceived in slavery. This nation was born and conceived in the perpetration and the institution of slavery and this companion legacy of white supremacy. Now, this is not a matter of opinion. This is not, I know we're in this era of where we have facts and alternative facts. No, this is not, there is no such thing to an alternative fact to how our country was created and conceived. The institution of slavery and its concomitant doctrine and legacy of white supremacy, that is a fact as factual as the speed of light, 186 miles per second, or 2 + 2. There's no such thing as alternative facts. Now, having recognized that as alternative fact, we have to begin to look at what the consequence of those facts have had. That is, the legacy of slavery and its institution of white supremacy, of what the consequential impact that has had on subsequent generations. And stop acting like it didn't happen. Just face up and get over it, because it did happen. And as a result of it happening, it had certain consequential results on subsequent generations in our culture, in our politics, and particularly in our politics. Up until 1965, 64, there are 20 standing committees in Congress. The chairperson of every standing committee in Congress was from the South. Why is that? It's because seniority arises from the number of times in which you get consecutively elected. Okay? So you become the chairperson of a committee because you've been there the longest. And that seniority arose with the chairmanship of senators from the southern states, because it was in those southern states where there was wholesale disenfranchisement of African Americans to vote. Now, that is not an opinion. That is a fact. The Civil Rights Bill of 1964 would not have been passed but for a substantial number of Republican senators who voted for it. A number of so-called Democratic senators, chairmen of standing committees, they opposed the Civil Rights Bill. But a number of Republican senators from Illinois and New York and New Jersey, they enabled Johnson to have a coalition to get his Civil Rights Bill passed. Now, that is, why do I say that? I'm just reciting a matter of historical facts. Okay? I mean, I didn't make it up. And we as America have got to get over it. We've got to stop feeling so embarrassed and not having to acknowledge that we were a country that was created and out of a political institution of slavery and racism, notwithstanding in the extraordinary document of the Declaration of Independence and our U.S. Constitution. Okay? And so we've been trying to reconcile that ever since our Civil War.
And it's my intention and hope that we're going to get closer to that reconciliation. There are a lot of youths today that are a little bit confused, Dr. Jones, as we get to almost the end of our beautiful conversation. But let's say between the ages of 13 to 25, especially young African American men, what would you tell them to thrive towards? What would you tell them now? What would you tell them how to use their energy, how to use their greatest asset, which is their mind, and how to use their hearts? What would you advise them? If there was one watching right now, what would you look him in the eye and tell him what he needs to do to be the best he could possibly be?
I would urge them to study and understand the history I had reference to, but that the challenge is to be the very best that they can be and to commit themselves to the pursuit of personal excellence. Commit yourself to the pursuit of personal excellence, because somebody can take a Glock 21 pistol or an AK-47 away from you, but nobody can take information and the education that you get. Somebody may be able to take some little dope that you've accumulated in illegal transaction. Okay? Somebody may be able to break up a relationship you have with somebody, but nobody can take away what you put inside your mind. Okay? So you commit yourself to the pursuit of personal excellence and to be the very best that you can be. Because nobody, I repeat, they can take your Glock pistol away. They can take your dope away if you're involved in something. They can take a lot of material things away, but they cannot take away that education.
Yeah, that education. What about our young African-American women? They are moving leaps and bounds in the United States of America. Stacey Abrams led such a powerful movement in Georgia to win 2 extra seats in the Democratic Senate, in the Democratic Party for Senate. There are many African-American women. The list is endless. Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. They go on and on and on and on. Right now, young African-American women have so many mentors to look towards, to build and grow themselves. But there's still some that don't believe as much in their value or their self-respect or self-worth. And they might be going down a particular avenue that's not going to, it's not their best. What would you advise a young African-American woman? How should she walk with her dignity and her power? What would you tell her?
I would tell her that who she is not reflected by what some other person, particularly what some male or man says, or even what another woman says. Who she is reflected by what she is when she looks into the mirror. Okay? And to go through a little self mantra. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am beautiful. I am beautiful. My beauty and my somebodyness does not depend upon some third-party validation. It depends upon my sense of self-worth and validation. Now, I'm a religious person. I'm a religious person. So I would say, person you have to be thinking about, remember who loves you. And it's not Johnny Q James F. around the block. It's the good Lord. It's whether you love yourself. If you love yourself so much, first of all, if you love yourself so much, you won't tolerate anybody trying to abuse yourself because you say, hey, I am somebody. You can't treat me like that. You cannot treat me like that because I'm the baddest queen of Sheba walking this earth. And whether you like the texture of my hair or the color of my skin or the color of my eyes, I don't care. Because I know who I am. I look in the mirror every morning and I'm defined not by what some third party says what I see is beautiful, but what I say is beautiful because I love myself.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I just felt like I wanted
shape of my nose and the shape of my lips doesn't depend on somebody else's shape of the nose and lips. It's because what I say my nose and lips are the most beautiful thing you can see in this mirror. That's
I hear you. It has so much to do with the inner beauty, no? I think right now we're in a particular season where if women can recognize that the external beauty has so much to do with their inner workings of their mind and what you said, what they believe in themselves. It doesn't matter how thin or how voluptuous their lips are. That's secondary. It has everything to do with the way you carry yourself, the way you conduct your relationships, the way you walk on the planet, like what we call in Hinduism, you're a living goddess, you're a living deity. So a deity don't curse, she don't, take off anybody's weave, she doesn't yell, at anything. The deity respects herself, so she naturally will look at you with that respect, even if you're acting up. And that's one of the things that I love to teach young women is how to walk in a room like you are a goddess, not with the arrogance, but with the quality of a goddess, which by chance is given by God. The power in the goddess is actually bestowed by God himself. So listen, we're coming to our end. Oh no, I feel like crying, but I can't. And what I usually do at the end of some of our shows, we do something called rapid spiritual fire. So what I do is I ask one word, I mention one word, and all you have to do is tell me what's the first word that comes to your mind. You ready?
Yes.
God.
Love.
Martin Luther King.
Courage.
America.
It's tough. Challenge.
Paused on that one, huh?
Yeah.
You paused on that one. Clarence B. Jones.
Grateful.
Perfect. It's perfect. This has been so meaningful for me, and I want to thank you for your passion, your love, your dedication, your commitment, and for the work that we're still here to do together. And are there any other thoughts that you'd like to share with our wonderful audience? Anything you'd like to
Only to say that I really, at the risk of being repetitive, I really do believe in the power of love, particularly of self-love. You have to come to respect and love yourself in spite of what some third party might say or do. You have to believe that you are somebody, that you are somebody special. And the reason that you're somebody special is not only are you a reflection of, see, I'm old-fashioned. I don't think that God makes anything ugly. I think everything that God makes is beautiful. So it's impossible. It's impossible for you not to be beautiful because you're a reflection in the image of God. Now, you may not say, well, I don't believe in God. Well, you will believe in yourself by looking in that mirror. Believe in yourself.
I have to share something. You know Louis Gossett Jr.?
Yes, I do very well.
So I told him we were going to have a conversation today, so he extends his heartfelt love to you, and he also just recovered from COVID, by the way.
Oh my God.
He's doing fine. He's doing fine. So
Yeah.
I'll connect you guys if you happen to have lost his number or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
one
yeah.
thing, Lou gave me this as a gift, and he gave me this quote, which I know you'll relate to. And he said, Sister Jenna, I can finally look in the mirror and like what I see.
Come on now.
Oh, I couldn't tell you what that did for me. Did you hear that?
I sure heard. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's that self-love you're talking about, Dr. Jones.
Yes, yes.
Could we do a part 2 when I have more time and we can
Absolutely.
sit? Because you and I could talk for hours.
All right, thank you, Mary. Thank you very much, Sister
We'll
Jenna.
mention about the Clarence B. Jones Foundation as well at the end of the show. And for anyone who's willing to help to support the foundation, their website and email address will be listed at the bottom. So we want to give a big heartfelt thank you to you, appreciation for your heart, your demeanor, your dignity, your intelligence,
And my
but more than
goddaughter
anything
Valerie
else,
Still.
your humility.
I said to my goddaughter Valerie Still, whom I love very dearly.
And Valerie too, you know, give her blessings for putting us together for sure.
Right.
So many, many blessings. I went to Martin Luther King Memorial the other day and I did this video, and want to share this as a gift to all of you as you just, you know, take some time to reflect on some of the beautiful words of advice and wisdom that was given to us by who we call the Godfather, a good Godfather, but also the amazing Dr. Clarence B. Jones. So I hope everyone enjoyed the show. If you liked it, give us thumbs up. Feel free to connect with Clarence B. Jones Foundation if you'd like to volunteer and do any sort of a work or support. Dr. Jones is very interested in raising a new generation of empowered youths who can really make a difference, because that's our future. That's our future. Some of us, we're a little bit, think we've grown. We're a little bit hard-headed, so it takes some time for change to occur. But Dr. Jones really wants to see the future of our younger voices to be the real leaders. But he also wants to see us to have agape love, more love in the world. That's all we need to fix all the ailments in our society. So enjoy this video, and thank you so much for joining us on America Meditating Radio, or America Meditating and the Next Normal. It's been our delight. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sister Jenna from the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museums and America Meditating Radio. It's Martin Luther King's Day. It's a day of service. And did you know that the greatest aspect of service that you could ever offer right now would be through your pure wishes and good feelings? We've been trying to change the world for thousands of years. And what if the solution to the ache of humanity lies in our service of offering good wishes and pure feelings? Wouldn't that be incredible?
We have a lot to be grateful for, and we have a great opportunity to be of service. You can start with yourself, start with your family, your friends, your city, your state, your country, and the world. Your pure wishes, your pure feelings and good wishes is the greatest act of service you could ever offer our greater humanity. On this Martin Luther King Day, let's just do just that. Let me share with you some of the quotes that I especially love from Martin. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. How timely is that particular quote at this particular time? Here's another one that I love very, very much. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So for this Martin Luther King's Observation Day, and for this day of national service, let's take out all the darkness by having our pure feelings and good wishes.
Hi everyone, it's Sister Jenna from American Meditating Radio. I hope you've been enjoying Wise-ish, which you can get live on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube from 8:30 a.m. to 8:45. But you can also get it on demand 24/7. It's going to be your power boost for the morning. It's your daily dose for the soul. It's just going to encourage you to make the day that much more valuable. So join us. Looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my